Hello, everyone, and welcome to yet another day in the world of Vera. And we have an exciting update for you today. We are going to be showing off one of the most beloved archetypes in fantasy MMORPGs, the fighter archetype. And there has been a lot
red
of
looks
work
really
that's
weird.
been done in progressing
It's
this.
not
Obviously, the last
bad.
time we showed anything remotely fighter related, it was, I think, almost.
It's funny. It reminds me of the in Marvel, the guy with the blades on the Guardians of the Galaxy, like this gray red combo.
2 years ago.
He's a fighter too, kind of.
Basic
Little mushroom in the back.
melee weapon revamp from Alpha 1. And there were a couple abilities, obviously, that we showed off, but nothing like the showcase we have stored for you today.
There's
You're going to get
subtitles.
some pretty in-depth understanding of how this archetype has been redesigned and the progression that's going to be available as part of Alpha 2. And we have joining us to talk through that today two of our absolutely
Doing pretty good here.
A lot of work and I think really representing pretty well what a lot of people who played fighters and other MMOs love about the class.
People love fighters. People love fighters. If melee combat is not good in this game will not be good.
Feature team owner on the combat
in people's
side,
eyes.
As well
That's just
as
how it
one of our
is.
senior engineers. Keenan, how are you doing, buddy?
Stream.
Was it really? Obviously, chill. We are here, back again, in the Riverlands, and we are actually in front of Oakenbane Keep, which is an area you guys saw at the end of the last live stream from Commission's live stream. And right when we ended that live stream, a story arc began in this area called An Ancient Violence. And we're going to be going in there and taking a look around. But first, I think what we should do is something that we have successfully done in the past with these showcases is kind of show off each individual ability first, talk about what they do, and give you guys a sense of the archetype and the abilities available to us before we get into combat with some freaky Goblin Town stuff. So, do I have a volunteer today that could help tank some blows potentially?
Yeah, I'll help him.
Nice, awesome. All right.
Okay, so we're gonna.
So, what should we start with first? What do you guys think?
Here, I'm gonna turn off captions for now, just so we can see
Blitz?
the.
All right, let's see. Blitz is the first
Yeah,
one
let's
on the bar.
go down the bar.
Mini
All right,
bar.
let's do it. Actually, you know what? I'm sorry. Why don't we first start with momentum? That sounds like a good idea because
Sure.
momentum is obviously going to be referenced in Blitz. I was just looking at that, and as well as a number of other abilities.
And as always, Steven, I skipped over it, but it's always a work in progress. This UI is going to change. It looks basic AF right now. That's fine.
And momentum is essentially a class energy system. Is that right, Judd?
That is correct.
Talk to me about momentum.
Yeah, I'll go into a little more detail about that. So one thing that we feel adds a lot to just class identity in general is something that is beyond just an ability. In this case, it's a class, or in this case, an archetype resource called Combat Momentum. So in your top left of the screen here, you'll see that you've got your standard health bar and your mana bar, and then a third empty bar that you'll see kind of build up in combat as we play, that you build up through all the different actions that you're doing through the kit. And you can use this resource to get passive power to your character based on which form you were in, which we'll get into it in a little bit here.
I feel like it should just be called momentum.
Unique,
I don't know if you need the combat part.
So, and guys, just to remind everyone, obviously, everything you're going to see here is still a work in progress.
Here's the disclaimer that I just gave. That's funny.
Especially as it relates to the UI, as it relates to the effects. And designs will change, balances will change.
You're like, oh, you get so tired.
What we're looking for
but
is kind
people,
of direction, right? Direction
people
on these
whine
archetype.
all the time.
Like,
This
what
looks like
other
ass.
Fighter influences have you had in other MMOs that you think could be incorporated as well? That's all part of the discussion. Okay, so momentum is that class energy ability, and as you guys have seen, obviously other classes Trad is talking about has some similar kind of class energy mechanics. Momentum is definitely, it looks like it is as it sounds, right? I mean, this is something that just passively is generating increased stat bonuses, and those stat bonuses we'll get to in a little while how they can be applied based on some individual buffs. So now that we know what momentum is, and it's good to generate
okay,
that,
we're looking at someone else.
Blitz. What is Blitz as an ability?
Yeah, Blitz is your gap closer, your bread and butter gap closer. You pick a target and you charge to the target. There's also a spec option that interacts with the resource if you choose it, that generates some combat momentum, so it lets you kind of open the encounter with a little bit of resource.
30 meters.
Okay, so I'm gonna charge the target directly.
Pretty
and I'm
standard.
gonna deal damage on arrival, which is physical based, and this spec option says that it generates 20 additional combat momentum. Now, presumably, combat momentum does not overflow after it hits the maximum 100 points. Is that correct?
That's right.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. And then I see under it there is an additional spec option that says killing an enemy with lethal blow will reset the cooldown of Blitz. So the more I kill, essentially, if I use lethal blow, I
Oh
can
my
just
god,
keep
that's
that momentum
really
up, generating
good for
additional
farming.
combat momentum, so I can use a little bit after, you know, potentially landing on the target and replenish that quickly after with executing lethal blow on the target as a kill, and then raging Blitz into the next.
Yeah, it turns you into more of a aggressive mobile character if you go with that. Like you're killing enemies and then you need to pick a new target. He might be far away. You charge to him, kill him.
Yeah,
rinse and
PvE,
repeat.
like,
Cool. All
you know,
right, let's take a
you
look at this.
two-shot the low level mob and you go to the next. Oh, that was a cool shield.
Nice.
Hey,
Okay,
I want to
that
see
was
that
cool.
again.
And presumably this also scales verticality as well.
Let's test it.
Okay, I want to slow it down just a bit. Again for the combat animations, so we get to, you know, feel for the chunkiness since we got here.
Yeah, it turns you into more of a aggressive mobile character if you go with that. Rinse and repeat.
Cool. All right, let's take a look at this. Ooh, nice.
That's chunky.
Okay, that was cool.
Yeah.
And presumably this also scales verticality as well.
Let's test it.
And guys, for the purposes obviously of this demonstration, I've set my cooldowns to
Okay.
0 so that I can.
I'm gonna just say right now, if he gets on top of this ledge, and he goes down into the river, up across the ledge, and still, that's gonna look jank.
Repeatedly use,
I will not be a fan of that.
Oh, here we go. We got some. Kill those little mushrooms,
yeah,
huh?
he's got to kill the mobs.
I don't want to spoil this
I'll nuke him
skills.
for you.
It's a kind of stormy day with this ancient violence in the background. Oh, and by the way, we are playing for the first time in I believe in game the Renkai orcs. Got my trusty mohawk going on. It is probably the most appropriate race class
the charge.
combination.
I mean, the red guy do look cool.
I thought so.
It's like a. Oh my gosh, we're
All right,
going
so I'm
even
gonna try to jump.
taller?
I'm gonna try to scale this thing on you. Let's see here. Oh man, now
What
that
the
is cool. That was awesome. Let me do that
Wait.
again.
Yeah. Yeah,
So-
this is kind of an answer you get to like that archer on the ledge that's just free shooting on you, and it's like, oh, I'm just gonna
Yeah,
get
yeah.
up there with you.
He didn't jump that
Okay,
time.
let me try this one more time.
So you select. Oh, you have to.
Ah, very
so you have to
nice.
jump like spacebar before.
Okay, so by default, so now let me try this. Oh, did you just die?
I think that was a bad nuke
My bad.
from someone.
My bad.
no, that was for sure my bad.
That feels really good, by the way. That feels clean.
That's super
Very clean. Oh,
crazy.
there's-
What?
Did somebody also die over here?
Oh my gosh! Just
a little
imagine
mushroom.
you're like on a
the
ledge and then
mushroom.
just
Okay.
like a
Okay, Blitz feels really
Warrior
good. Well done with that. I like
fighter
that. It's
just
super smooth.
jumps up at
and
you.
fluid. It feels. You know, there's
Yeah, it
not
feels
really
chunky.
any movement interruption either on contact or at the initiation, which is obviously one of the most, you know, ideal feeling points of any mobility skill. Right? Is that fluidity throughout. Okay, let's talk about the next one. So we have Brutal Cleave.
Yep, this is probably your most bread and butter AoE attack. You can, it does a medium amount of damage. It's not one of your more spectacular AoEs, but it's your primary AoE resource generator. So you're going to be using this a
I like
lot
the way
to
the
build
shit
your
looks.
momentum.
Not a biggest fan of the numbers.
And you also weave this a lot between your weapon combos because your weapon attack finishers will reset seconds off of this cooldown. So if you're like going back and forth between cleaves and weapon attacks, you get to do more of them and have more uptime.
Okay. Yeah, that's pretty cool. All right, so this does.
Also, the more targets you hit, so that's why
Mhm.
it's really good in AoE situations, is you get more momentum based on how many targets you're hitting.
Yeah, but it's not
Got
like
it.
360.
So after jumping
It's
in
just
with
like a
Blitz,
cone, or it's like a
especially if there's
cleave.
multiple targets, going with a Brutal Cleave is just going to really ramp that momentum. And then it looks like also that this ability, it says shares a cooldown with Overpower. And it says also the weapon combo finisher will reduce its cooldown by 8 seconds.
Yep. So you'll be resetting overpowers more frequently because if we want to just jump over to that one, that's this
Yeah.
single target counterpart to this attack. It's just a single target hit, but it is a shorter cooldown, so you can reset them more frequently, and it's also generating your resource. So it kind of, you're choosing which one to use based on what your enemies are.
I don't
cool.
like the.
That looks great, by the way.
Enemies are
Where is it?
choosing which one to use
That's the
based
slash,
on
right?
what your rating
Oh,
your hit,
where
but
is
it is
it?
counterpart to this attack.
Yeah, like look how large this slice is. Not, I mean, it's like a single target thing. I think the glow of the blade and then this little portion right here is enough. Like I don't really, I'm just afraid. Again, one of the big things about Ashes is like big, large PvP, and like this stuff looks cool, but it just gets too much. And yeah, I'm sure there's settings to like turn it down, but you don't want to unless you have to. And like this looks really similar to the other one, and like unless it's intentional to like kind of bait out like a PvP, you know, scenario where you're not sure what ability your opponent is using. The single target, it doesn't need this huge swing.
It's just a single target hit, but it is shorter cooldown, so you can reset them more frequently, and it's also generating your resource. So it kind of, you're choosing which one to use based on what your enemies are.
Very cool. That looks great, by the way. Scott and Siva have done an amazing job.
Yeah, I'm really happy with how the effects turned out. Like making physical look this cool, like, you know, it was a feat.
I like the attack speed of the two-handed sword.
All right, very cool. I like that.
It's got that like slow.
Awesome. Let's talk about main.
Heavy look.
Okay, let's go over here a little bit. Right here. Talk to me a little bit about main.
So this is a more powerful AoE attack in the kit. Do you have a spec right now for the
yeah, let me take a look
range?
here. And by the way, Brutal Cleave, I apologize. There's no additional functionality, it looks like, on Brutal Cleave. But we did talk also about...
Overpower's on the right column. It's an auto-granted ability, so it's not going to be in this tree. Got
it.
There you go.
Okay, so it doesn't have any spec options either.
That's right.
But MAME does. And should I turn MAME off? Let me turn the spec option off first, because this actually extends the distance of the projectile by essentially launching that piercing projectile. Is that right?
Yeah, let's take a point out of that first, and then we'll just kind of look at the base effect.
Okay.
So this is just a cone in front of you. You're hitting in a cone in front of you. It's pretty heavy hitter. You're not resetting the cooldown of this, so you need to be more,
that looks really cool.
Aware of when you're using this. But it also has the added effect of it will do more damage against recently tripped enemies. So that's where you really want to save this, is if you've tripped someone, or if someone else has tripped an enemy, you capitalize on it by basically smashing down on them with this.
Yeah, I am a fan.
So good.
Yeah,
Love it.
I am
That
a
is
fan.
awesome. Okay, so let's spec into the projectile.
And it's not like super crazy effects, but
Now,
the
this
ones
is
that are
gonna give
right
you
around the
obviously a lot more
player
range.
are maximized to their full value.
Oh.
Oh. So
This
it's like
adds
a range.
a piercing projectile on top of the attack, so you're still getting that frontal AoE hitbox that's staying the same, but you're adding a
That looks
projectile on top
really
of it.
cool.
And the cool thing here too is the projectile gets the bonus of the damage bonus from the trip, so you could actually combo into a target that you see trip from range with this as well. One reason this is a spec option is some fighters will want to be using this in a way that you don't want to pull a mob in the distance, so it's just kind of an added layer of skill if you're using this in a really cluttered environment, but it's kind of a trade-off.
That feels really good. That is awesome. I'll give myself some mana. There we go. Okay, cool. I love MAME. That is an awesome ability.
Yeah,
Let's
I'm a
talk
big
about Battle Cry.
This is definitely one of my personal favorites. It doesn't do damage, but it's got some really cool effects going on with it. So, do you want me to start talking about it, or do you want to use it first?
You're good.
Okay, cool. So I love this as an AoE opener. What it does a few things. One, it riles your allies, specifically your party members. It will also apply a status effect called Shaken to your enemies. And then it will generate a certain amount of combat momentum per ally that you riled.
Thought it was
And then
missing
just to
rally,
elaborate,
but
because
he's
people are
actually
like, what is Shaken? What is riled? Well, Shaken right now is a debuff on enemies that whenever they take damage, they have a small chance to become tripped. So there's some good combos with this where like you go into like a multi-hit AoE and you can capitalize on
getting
that.
unlucky,
and then by tripping or
and
by
then
triggering
just
trip
like
status,
tripping,
that
that would
into
be
main
super
really well.
tilting.
So that's one of the combos I like to do is shout into like a whirlwind, which you'll see in a bit. Into maim to do extra damage against targets that have procced that effect.
Yeah, these are feeling great. Wow, I do like the battle cry. That is like probably the most standard feeling, like expected action on behalf of the fighter, some type of battle cry effect, and this one captures it well. I love that. That's cool.
Imagine just a bunch of
we saw
50 people
Whirlwind,
just using it at the same time
a while ago, and
That'd be
talk to me
fun.
about what's changed about Whirlwind.
So Whirlwind is actually pretty close to what it's always been. It's an AoE channeled attack that ramps up in speed the longer you hold it. There's also a spec option on the right if you want to pick that gives a final upward swing at the end that has some additional bonuses to it.
Okay. So let's do it without
Spin to
the
win
spec first.
Yeah.
Right. Cool. So
That's
it exits
fun.
out after the essentially the.
I'm assuming. I think he was. You move it, right? Move all cast. Yeah.
There we go. Let's try it again.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're also able to move during it, as you're seeing here.
Cool.
So it's pretty nice to be able to just kind of like use this while you're moving through a pack.
I want to
of
see
bombs.
the extra ability.
So let me spec now into the.
Yeah, I like the
option
spec, like
that I could invest
changing the
additional points
abilities.
into this
I'm sure
particular
not
skill
everyone's
if I
going to be
wanted
like
to
that.
give
There'll probably be
myself
some passive
a
specs, but
finishing blow essentially. Oh, nice. Okay.
oh, it's just like a
So you
little
get a big hit
delay.
at the end. Also, you can stop this at any time. So you're seeing him do the full channel, but if it's like, oh, I want to, cancel out of it early. For like, let's say one thing I'll do from time to time is if I shaken enemies, and then this ability is kind of good at tripping enemies because it's hitting really rapidly. You might see a trip and you can cancel out of it into a maim early if you want to show off that combo.
Gotcha.
Name. Yep. Let's do it.
So you get the increased chance
There
to
you go.
proc
Oh,
it.
nice. That's cool.
The stagger,
That feels good. That's
because you're hitting so rapidly, even though it's not like a lot of damage, and then you get the trip off,
That's
and then
so
you
cool.
maim.
That's awesome.
PvP,
All right, cool.
very interesting,
Whirlwind
very
feels good
interesting.
too. All right, Cataclysm is another one that we saw a while ago. What's changed with Cataclysm?
Yeah, a lot has changed with this one. It used to be like this big like hammer that would appear over your head, and then it hit like an AoE kind of far away from you.
I liked
Overall, it ended up being a little
Cataclysm.
awkward to use. We wanted to turn this more into like your big frontal AoE damage. So this is like the other end of the spectrum, like stronger than maim. It's just a big ultimate like AoE attack essentially. It's pretty straightforward.
All right, no additional spec options here. And by the way, for those of you out here, that are wondering about kind of how augments, even though we haven't seen a lot of augment work being done, a lot of this tech is foundational in applying these types of spec options, which augments essentially are as well, but they can more radically change fundamentally what the ability is.
It's
So
like
that Whirlwind,
secondary class augments,
adding an additional component to the ability,
or is it
which
like an
that
item or like an enchant or a
climactic
rune or
whirlwind,
something?
essentially, could be considered functionally as an augment, an additional effect applied to the ability. Okay, let us showcase that new Cataclysm. Oh, that feels much better. Yeah,
I need to
that's
see it
cool.
again.
This is also another way to apply shaken to enemies as well. It and Battlecry are kind of on separate, longer cooldowns, so you might find yourself sort of going back and forth between these interchangeably.
And you can change the direction here mid wind up.
Okay.
Yep.
Nice. I like that. Obviously, the granularity in that.
Yeah, those.
Yeah, it gives you a little more agency. Like you're not just locked in place because it is a full rooted ability. You cannot move during this. But being able to turn,
the cataclysm theme with like the earth coming up is cool.
As things might change.
I don't think it actually like blocks people from moving. It might just be visual. I totally if so, that's a lot of visual. It'd be crazy if it could like block you.
And that's obviously something that is a philosophy and a standard that's taken across a lot of the classes as it comes to like rooted ability use and whatnot. That freedom of agency, that movement, is core to kind of the melee experience and general skill usage. All right, next up we have Rupture.
Before we move to the next one, now that I think about it, it would be interesting if there was not many, but a couple of abilities that did create terrain. I think it provides interesting options in terms of it's like its own form of CC, right? It's not necessarily a stun, but you can use terrain to separate you from an enemy. You can use terrain to like cataclysm. Say you hit somebody and then it locked you in. In that just for a couple, so you can't run out of it, or you'd have to like blink out of it or something. Like, I don't know how hard that would be to implement, but visually at least, like there is something interesting there. And I think from a depth of combat, it's something that just, I think tech wise is not very researched, or, there aren't many games that have it. And so I think it'd be a really unique aspect. Could be busted as shit too. I don't know. We'll see.
Yep, so this is an interesting one. It's a single target attack, and it puts a temporary debuff on your target where if they are moving, while that effect is on them, they will build up wounded stacks. We can talk about
much blood.
We can talk about this as
that's like a Bloodborne looking.
But talking about the fact that he should have like literally 0 blood pressure remaining after.
So much.
Oh
sure, we can build in that mechanic.
Oh my god!
But
it's
also,
so
you'll
much.
notice at the end of it, he takes a big hit of damage, and the idea is that damage will scale with how much wound they have on them. So this will have kind of some inter-synergy going on with itself, but also there will be other sources of wound that you could kind of synergize this for further for that big delayed hit at the end.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. So the wounds are essentially these stacking debuffs that get applied.
I like how it's dependent on the enemy moving.
Decrease their healing received.
Correct.
And also increases damage taken from all sources.
From physical sources.
From physical sources. Got it. Very cool.
Yep. And the more you build that up, because this is actually a stacking thing. It's not just like a single status effect. So the more you're wounding the target, the more and more debuffed their healing, incoming healing becomes. So.
Okay. All right. Tinfoil hat, crazy idea. You have a displacement ability. You wound them. You displace them, which counts as them moving, which builds stacks automatically. Is that a thing? Because that would be a very interesting combo.
It's one of those things where if a fighter is on your target that you're trying to keep alive, you want to peel a fighter off that target, because the longer they get that uptime, the harder it's going to become to heal them up.
Yeah, Cataclysm is just visual.
That's cool. That's awesome. Okay.
It does not look
love
like
Rupture.
it creates
also
terrain.
Love an insane amount of blood that's happening. Overpower. Talk to me about Overpower. What do we got here?
We talked about this one. This was the resource generator.
That's right. And that one doesn't have any additional spec options. The Rupture also looks like, did that one have spec options?
It does not, but if you go in, so you will see kind of to the right of Rupture, there are some things that it unlocks. Like oh sorry, below it, Maim actually. If you go to Maim and then to the right, there are some things over here that you get to unlock as well, which kind of synergize with
Weapon combo
Rupture.
finishers and extended finishers apply 5
For example,
wound.
Brutality allows you to start applying wound stacks through your weapon combos. So if you really want to lean into that utility,
yeah.
Like I'm a heal debuffing spec fighter, right? Like that's my thing that I do. You could go into this, and now your weapon attacks, in addition to generating momentum, are also applying wounds to the target.
The healer.
Love it.
And then this one adds more wound specialization if you go down.
Oh wow, okay, so this gives Overpower and Brutal Cleave wound application.
Yeah, it's basically what it's kind of doing is it's tying your wounds to the way that you're normally building momentum if you want to kind of dual spec into both.
That's cool. Wow, it's strong.
Yeah,
okay.
It could be very strong.
Let's talk about this apparent crippling blow.
This is the
yeah, sure. So crippling blow. This one's pretty simple. This is a standard single target snare. So a pretty common combo you'd use is like blitz into a crippling blow if you're like getting on top of a target that's trying to kite you.
Yeah. So it just like drastically
if you're charging up on a ranger
speed.
who's like the last thing they want is you in their face. Like snaring them is gonna force them to maybe use a gap opener because they're not able to outrun you.
Yeah, pretty standard.
That's cool.
All right, what else I got for us?
So crippling blow is pretty strong actually, especially when it comes to PvP. I mean that's a pretty significant reduction in movement speed.
Yeah, it is single target, so you do have to choose wisely who you are snaring. But it's pretty nice to be able to just lock a target down, not like hard CC, but just make it easier to stick on top of them.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool. All right, crippling blow, and then we have lethal blow.
This is another one of my favorites. This is the execute of the kit. It's single target as well, but the lower health they are, the harder it's going to hit. So this is really like you're trying to do as much damage with your other abilities as possible, and then when you get them like within that kill threshold, you're just gonna hit them with this, hope for a crit maybe, and finish them off. Use it. There you go.
Oh my god.
This does have a couple spec options as well. One you kind of went over. If you kill them with that and you have the spec that resets splits, you could immediately blitz
that
again.
Is the most extra revive animation. Okay.
But if you want to open your skill tree here, we can look at the other one.
Let's talk
yeah,
about it. And
lethal blow looked a little underwhelming for an execute.
But lethal blow does.
But as an ability, I mean, it's solid.
A lot of the time, I've played games where executes hit really hard, but you waste a lot of the damage, and it's like, oh, I saw a cool big number, but it didn't really do anything. It's kind of wasted. This spec option lets you make use out of that, so it turns any overkill damage into like health and mana return to you. The caster.
That's awesome. And you know what I love about that? It's at least as it relates to PvP, is that you do not have granularity insight to the opponent's hit points, so you're really rolling the dice if you want to maximize efficacy on this consuming lethal blow.
Yeah,
that's
lethal
how I've
blow
been
would
using
be
it a lot.
really
like,
bad.
Sometimes I pull it
if
off,
you
other
can't
times I don't.
like see how low they are.
That's super cool.
So
like
most people probably don't use it for the execute. Yeah, they just use it for the health and mana.
Blood fusion.
Yeah, so kind of like that lethal blow spec we were using. This is another way for the fighter to get health and mana back to itself. That's kind of one way that the fighter sustains itself, because it's in the thick of things, right? It's a primary target. You've got to be in danger to be doing a lot of what your kit does, and this is like one way the fighter can stay in the fight. And if you pop this, it's a big cooldown. But for the next 6 seconds, any damage you do will have a % returned as health and mana to you.
Okay, so somebody nuke me for like 500.
You go ahead, Shred.
Okay, I don't want to do it all at once.
Multiple 500s, like 500s.
There you
All
go.
right, and then I am going to deal some damage here to see how much I get back.
Yeah, let's see how much. I'm assuming the amount you get back is just going to be dependent on your level. That's
Yep,
like
so that last hit missed the
pretty
window,
standard.
but you got a good chunk from your other attacks.
Yeah, it's just a little bit of
the value of
sustain.
this is super variable based on when you use it. So if you pop it in the right moment, you've got a lot of targets around you. You're like popping your AOE's. Like this is going to get a ton more value.
Yep.
That's cool. I like that. So it's an instant cast that can happen in the middle of any ability activation.
Right.
Nice.
You could like start your Cataclysm and then pop that right before it lands.
That's cool. That is super cool.
Yeah, if you use it like I would assume with like your AOE ability, it's like how
Oh,
you
yeah, I
if
see
you're like
that.
a tank,
Okay, very nice. And I like the
like a
the
fighter
effect.
tank spec.
Effect looks great.
It's got more
Yeah,
of that
they-
blood theme.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's good.
I also love the audio for it. It's like you're consuming it a bit. All right, let me grab whatever this is. Oh, bunch of stuff.
Oh no
I
no
think that
no
was
no
on
no
your
go
corpse.
back.
I'm sorry, Brian. Very nice, and I like the effect. Effect looks great.
It's got
Let's
more
take
of
a
that
look.
blood theme.
Yes. I also love the audio for it. It's like you're consuming it a bit.
These are just random items in
Grab
the
whatever this
player
is.
inventory, so it doesn't really speak to much. But okay, so we have glint, emblems, carcasses. Yeah, so it looks like you're gonna have glint and materials. I don't know what these squares are. Is it like the Tetris thing where it's like how many squares it takes up or what shape it's in? That's like a nice little indicator. Uh-huh. Redeemable at nodes for various rewards. So you turn in glint at nodes for rewards. Okay,
Oh,
cool.
bunch of stuff. I think that was on your corpse. I'm sorry, Brian. Do that right in front of you.
My
It's
loot.
disrespectful. Okay, cool. Let's skip Exert for now. Let's go to Lunging Assault.
Wait, what?
Yeah, so this is like going to be one of your first spenders of your resource. This spender is more
Oh,
for
the
mobility.
the
it's
momentum
a smaller
spender.
but whenever you use this, you will dash forward a short distance and do an attack at the end. And it's pretty freely usable. It doesn't have a very long cooldown. It's just spending your resource. So the more resource you're generating, the more you're able to kind of reposition and dash around the battlefield and get some extra damage out there.
I see. Now, obviously,
There's a little
utilizing
bit of
the resource
mobility.
with Lunging Assault, because you're dealing instances of damage to enemies that you impact, you have an opportunity, if executed well situationally, that you can you can actually probably have a net gain with this if there's a huge amount of enemies, like a train or something, right?
Yeah, it would probably take a lot of enemies to actually get a profit, but you can at
Yeah.
least mitigate the cost through that spec choice
Yeah.
of if you're hitting enemies, you can get resource back, and therefore you're getting to do this more, and you're also not losing the value of your resource that you're getting passively through your forms, which
Right.
again we'll get to soon.
Cool. Okay, let's try this. There we go. And now I don't need a target for this. I can just kind of...
Nope, freely.
Let me
It's a
generate.
reposition.
Alright. That's cool. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
it's
so it's
kind
just like
of
like a little small little
Not
dash.
too far a distance there.
Yeah, it's meant to like be more of a repositioner where you're
The end lag
dancing
on
around
that
your
is
target. You
really
might,
low. It looks like
be
you can
zipping back
move
and forth
before the
between different
animation
enemies in melee.
finishes.
Right.
Which
Whereas
looks
your
a
other,
little
you have
janky,
other tools
but
for going longer
the
distances.
timing
You have
seems
Blitz, you
correct.
have the next one that's about to come up from here. So those are going to be more of your long distance mobility skills.
Alright, let me try this more long distance mobility skill here. Talk to me about Leap Strike.
Yeah, so this is the most
God,
free
look at that
mobile.
distance.
Yeah, it's very far and it doesn't require a target, unlike Blitz. And you're also gonna basically deal damage and AoE around it. So it's just a more powerful but less frequently usable gap closer / opener if you even decide to use it as an opener.
Oh my god!
Yeah, wow. That's crazy.
I am the Juggernaut! Oh, that was so cool.
Why would you play a ranged class?
Yeah,
when
that's a fun one to use.
Holy smokes.
Fighters are
definitely
just
more AoE
all over the
focused.
place.
And again, guys, I am using 0 cooldowns right now just so I can demonstrate the abilities. Well, I know you're all thinking like, what? This character's just gonna fly around the battlefield.
Yeah.
That's not what's happening.
Literal rocket.
I know.
You can actually use this too to go up on ledges. Like if you were to try and get up on one of these ledges we were trying earlier,
Yeah.
you don't even need a target to use it.
Let me just check, are there any spec options here?
Not currently, but there will be.
Alright, let me try to jump up on here.
No.
Oh, I was
Nice
too
try.
short. I was too short. My bad. Oh, let me try it again. I'll try it again.
Actually,
The indicators.
usually I've had more success when I'm covering gaps rather than actually like trying to go up different verticalities. But sometimes, yeah, it works.
Oh, we did it. We did it, boys.
I don't know if that jump that happens at the beginning is that automatic. Just
Very
for like,
cool.
or if you
All
have
right,
to press.
let's talk a
like,
little bit
space bar
about.
before.
You know, I thought I fixed time of day, but it feels like it's getting darker. I don't know. Let's talk a little bit about next up, these different forms
Forms.
that I'm seeing here.
Dang, this class has it all.
Yeah, so these are probably the biggest contributors to your combat momentum resource. You can spend momentum, but it's a resource that's primarily meant to be built up and maintained because
I
of
wanna
the
play this
bonuses
game
that
so
these
bad.
forms provide. So if we want to just look at
This looks so
one of
good.
the first ones here, we can go into a little more detail on how those work.
I'm actually gonna make it a little bit.
I'm not a fighter player, but
My bad. I wanted to change of
this
day
this
slightly.
looks like the best one so far
some better light
in terms
over
of
here.
just like
There we go.
feel.
Apologies. Okay. Which one am I switching to?
Anyone you want. We'll
Let's
get through all of them.
go to, you know, I am playing a Renkai, so ferocity sounds good. Ooh.
All right. So now you'll notice in the top left here, he is in this form. So as long as you don't change forms, you will permanently remain in the form of ferocity. We actually renamed this recently, so you'll see Tempest there, but that went through a rename. So while in this form, your momentum will increase your attack speed the higher your momentum is. So for every point of momentum that you've got, your attack speed's going up. So you're basically ramping up that attack speed as you generate.
So where I see right now, I'm at 86.9.
Yep.
Let's generate some momentum.
Your weapon combos are pretty good for generating momentum as well,
Yeah,
especially your finishers. There you go.
very cool, very cool.
Okay, 86.9 has gone to 99.2.
Yep.
Up, and it's dropping. Very nice.
Yep. You got to stay in
Get a little-
combat to keep
Get
your
a little
resource
attack
going.
speed.
And that's really what the fighter's all about, is like ramping up, being in that combat momentum, hence the name. And when the fights,
Wow, it
you
feels
know,
like
it's-
that the attack speed is even increasing each individual ability speed as well.
Is that? Oh, what the heck?
That's huge.
Yeah, so your abilities come out faster
That
too.
is super cool.
So if you were to change forms, you would lose the attack speed bonus, but immediately gain
Oh my gosh,
the
what was
bonus
that
of
flash?
the corresponding form.
Holy moly!
All right, very cool.
So if you want to shift V into maybe a form of celerity here,
All right, and that is on Shift V.
there you go. Now run
Nice.
around. You might have to blitz him again. You probably need to get some mana and then build it up a little more. But
Oh, my bad. Let me get mana.
but this one increases your movement speed. So this lets you just move around the battlefield a lot more nimbly. So if you need to, like, you know, close the gap a little bit and your gap closers are on cooldown or whatever, this is a good way of traversing the field a bit faster.
Yeah. Wow. This is pretty quick.
Oh, the fog
That's a
setting
significant
in.
speed boost.
That looks really good. All right, how much time? Oh my gosh, we have.
And then the
so
third one
much.
is more of a defensive option, a bit more situational, but it is a disable resistance form. This is form of fluidity, and while you're in it, you are much more difficult to be CC'd. So you're more resistant to stuns, to roots, trips, pretty much anything that falls into the CC category.
Try to sleep me or something?
Sure, I'll give it a shot. There's a chance that I'll still hit you, but let's see. I can't actually. I'm in your party.
Oh, okay. No, it's okay. That's fine. All right. So this is basically when you want to literally be unstoppable through CC effects. Like, this is going to be a 40% reduction on that. That's pretty powerful.
Yep. And again, all the numbers are kind of in tune or being tuned. We just, when we're testing these out, we want them to feel impactful, just to validate that they are, you know, cool things, and then we start to balance to tone that back down.
Very cool. All right. All right. Last but most certainly not least is an ability called God Mode. I mean, excuse me. What's it called? I'm sorry. Exert?
This is Exert. Yes. It's my
yeah,
earlier.
I know your segue. Actually, it's a great segue.
Yep.
So speaking of balance and what will be happening, obviously, with Alpha 2 and even before Alpha 2, we'll be balancing some of this stuff. So just keep that in mind. However, segue here into God Mode, aka Exert. We have what?
So if we go over here to in the skill tree to the left,
let's see what
Exert. This is a very high cost, very high payoff, like essentially like super mode that you can go into, and you're rapidly spending your momentum while you're in this form. It's all or nothing. You can't turn it off. Once you pop this, you will stay in this mode until your momentum is fully drained, and then you're gonna have to build it all the way back up again. Meanwhile, you're getting increased attack speed, you're getting CC immunity, and whatever else it says in here.
We've got 20% increased attack and movement speed, and immunity to disabling effects while active.
So if you can kind of draw the connection, this is like you're taking the three forms, which are CC resistance, movement speed, and attack speed, and getting just all three of them in a huge burst for a small window of time.
Very small window. Yes.
I wonder if it stacks.
And that small window is potentially, as it states here, at least it would be about 5 seconds if you're fully charged
time to 100 to 0
on
somebody,
momentum, because it's essentially ticking at 20% per second. Is that right?
Yep. And again, all the numbers are super tunable.
Absolutely.
We will be tuning these numbers, but we're just kind of putting them in a place where we can play test them. And as we get more effective with these, it's like, okay, now we're seeing the ceiling of how powerful these things are. We're going to bring it back a little bit.
Let's talk about its spec options.
Yep. So we've got one that resets your cooldowns based on how much momentum you had at activation. So if you use this at 50 momentum, you would take about half of your cooldowns off. But if you use it at full momentum, you would reset all your cooldowns.
That's actually
so you can just go straight into your rotation upon popping this.
Yeah, you just blow.
And then this one is
pop momentum.
lets it act as a CC break as well.
Again.
So this, okay, I like this. This is a nice comment. So you get increased combat momentum with movement, attack speed, and the immunity to disabling effects. And it becomes a CC break on activation if you're under the effects of CC.
Nice.
And depending on the amount, percentage-wise, of momentum you have available at time of activation.
So you don't have to choose. You can just
potentially
get all of them?
reset your ability cooldowns as well.
Or if do you have to choose?
This is obviously, guys, I know a lot of you out there right now are just
the
probably
revigorating
going insane in chat. And I'm just gonna, I'm assuming
way better than the CC.
This is where we balance.
If you get CC,
everything's
you
gonna
don't
be
have
balanced,
the momentum,
right? This is
and then
just
you
the
pop
initial find the fun, and we're going to work around balance here. But this is a cool ability. This is literally like super. I am a fighter. Hear me roar. Glory. Be.
Have you used it?
No, I haven't.
Gotta show it.
Yeah, let's do this. Let's do this. So I guess in order to properly do this, I should actually set my cooldowns back.
Do you have it fully spec'd?
I do. I have it fully spec'd.
Keenan, do you have condemn on your bar?
And grab it real quick.
Okay, yeah, that's a stun. We'll have Keenan condemn you, and then you'll just like break out of it.
Yeah, break out
after your full momentum.
Yeah, let me start generating that. Love that shield effect.
You have to get all the way to 100 though.
This, form of fluidity. Let's go to.
Do ferocity.
Yeah, let's do ferocity.
Form of celery.
You could probably blitz him for a head start on momentum into an overpower.
Keep an eye on your mana. Let me know when you're ready to be stunned.
Use your
Okay,
abilities.
almost up there.
Generate the momentum. He's just attacking. It's funny.
But before you stun me, let me start
Okay.
doing some abilities.
I am feeling that wound.
Wait, just don't kill him.
No, I'm not. I'm not.
Oh,
All right,
there's a
now you
beacon.
can stun me.
All right, stun him up. All right, use it.
Oh.
Oh,
What
you don't
the?
have. Did you not spec it?
Oh, I thought I did. I thought I did spec it. Let's try it again.
Well, let's check the tree. If
Yeah, let me double check.
there might be an issue there.
Did I spec it? Did I spec it? I do have it spec'd.
That's weird. That used to work.
Let's double check. Hold on.
Bugs.
Let's try
It
one more time
happens.
and I'll click on it this time.
Do you
In case
lose
there was some
target a
finger
sight of the
shanigans
target in
happening.
front of
Alright,
you? This stun?
I think.
He like just disappeared. Oh no, it was just the
I had an
animation.
expression failure. Sad.
All right, well, let's use it without that. That used to work.
My bad. Guys, welcome to Bugs.
Yep.
That's okay. Okay.
Now it's balanced.
Let's show. Yeah, now it's balanced. See,
No,
the game wouldn't
he
even
has to
allow that level of
rebuild.
imbalance. No, I'm just kidding.
It's to rebuild the momentum.
Okay, let me generate this up again. We get some. Okay, and then give myself some mana. And now let's use Shift 2.
Gotcha.
Oh, that's cool. I
There you
love
go.
that effect. That effect looks great.
Yeah, seems
Let me show the effect. one
Really
more time
good.
while I'm not kind of moving around and doing stuff. Okay. And let me set my cooldowns real quick one more time.
I guess they don't
And
have
is
like
there-
a
Can I give myself
command
max,
to yeah.
momentum? Or no?
There's a debug ability for it, but I
that's
would just say blitz into overpower, and then weapon combo is the best way to do it. That's main. Hit your A button.
There we go. All right.
Yeah,
hold
so it's
still.
like a little fire.
I just keep this going all the time. I got no cooldowns.
Yeah. Now we're cheating.
That is so good. Oh,
Yeah,
that's
that'd be
so good.
busted. Just permanent. Infinite momentum. Very cool. Very cool.
Very cool. All right, well,
I agree,
that
Steven. I
is
agree.
a very, let me just say, I'm sorry, let me speak on behalf of what I assume is our audience saying, holy shit.
Yeah.
That is a cool class. I mean, the archetype feel.
I said before, I'm gonna say it again. Like, of the classes shown, this is definitely the one that looks the best in terms of not balance, but feel and fun and weight. And honestly, you want a successful game, the fighter class has to be thematic, because people love it. People will die on that hill. to play their one and favorite class. I'm personally not a big warrior or fighter class player, but hey, keep it up, and I just might be.
Feels great. The movement, the fluidity is there. It feels really good.
It needs an
just to
axe.
play
He
with
needs a
these
big axe
skills.
for me to swap.
Well done, guys. Well done.
Yeah, very
For
well
Alpha 2,
done.
this is feeling nice as a fighter and as melee. Obviously, that mobility is going to be king when it comes to traversing.
Only a third through the video. What do we got left?
And being that Juggernaut class fantasy feeling,
yeah.
I think is really captured well here. What do you guys say we take a look at Oakenbane and kind of work
Oh,
through
we're gonna
that
see the
area and
world?
show people off a little bit of the world of Vera?
Nice. It's like a 2 for
let's
1.
put the kid to the test.
Yeah,
Did you
let's-
want to talk about the weapon first?
Oh
or-
my God, you're
good
right.
call.
Thank you. Yes. Okay, you guys
And-
obviously see here we have got a pretty beefy looking sword
Yeah.
that I have equipped, and Brian and
Could be bigger.
Combat Team have been working a lot on skill progression trees for weapons. You saw a hint of that in its very bare bones form with the Ranger update, but there's been a lot of work towards that weapon tree. Let's talk a little bit about it.
Yeah. So we've been revamping the weapon tree entirely. So the first point of progression here is we wanted to give people a choice in how long their weapon combo actually is. So you've got the base weapon combo that you start with on the Greatsword, which is 3 attacks, and you can
Oh,
extend
your
that
weapon has a
out
tree?
into 4 attacks if you want.
It
In
just
addition
looks
to that,
complicated, too.
both the 3rd hit and the 4th hit can have proc finisher attacks,
So
and
did-
those proc finisher attacks can trigger additional effects on you,
Yeah, how many
such
combo?
as an additional heal effect, a boost of momentary attack speed.
And I'm looking
Hey.
here,
Yep.
Brian. So when I go over to the left-hand side, and it has me to kind of an
Choose a
option,
skill?
right? I'm unlocking this node and selecting down one of these 4 choices. And for those of you who are watching and perhaps don't recall the use case here of these weapons,
I don't know if I would call it.
These are separate.
I don't know if I'd call it node, only because there are nodes, and like if you're trying to search for stuff, that would get really confusing really quickly. Like, oh, are you talking about like the game system node? Are you talking about the weapon skill tree nodes? Anyway, it's small stuff like that. Obviously, it's not a big deal right now.
Progression trees that you unlock and advance within as you are using and adventuring with a particular weapon type, right, Brian?
Correct. And yeah, they'll advance faster than
So it's your
archetype tree,
proficiency.
so you'll be able to level up a couple weapons as you're going along.
Yeah, and that's a lot of fun to do, actually. I
Yeah, and
being
And that
stuck
section
with
that you're
one
looking
weapon.
at now is probably the most work in progress part. I still need to revamp this passive section. It's pretty weak overall, but yeah, this version 0, you could choose between different modifications that would best fit your class. You could choose between a little bit of deflection bonus, which is avoidance, some I think crit damage, accuracy.
So each node, you're kind of choosing a different. Oh, I see. Very cool. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, right now they're all the same. I'm gonna mix up that a little bit and make it more interesting with some different capstone passives and such. But yeah, this side's way more interesting, way more fleshed out. So what you just clicked on there is the first proc that you'll get access to. And you have a choice between 3 of these
Passive
things.
procs.
The first is Swordmaster Swiftness. This is a temporary boost of attack speed. So if you get this proc and then you can instantly use another ability or continue in your combo if you want, and it'll trigger that next ability all the quicker.
And to top
Okay. Already, this is one class. Your class has your class skill tree. I'm assuming your secondary augments, right? Your secondary class. That might be the augments, that might be a different thing. I'm still kind of nebulous on that. And then the weapon that you're using has its own skill tree. Leveling is cool to unlock this. It might get annoying if you're like, oh, this new weapon type came out, or the best in slot weapon for warrior was, or for fighter was greatsword, and axe was really garbage, and so they buffed it, and now I have to go grind axe skill to get this up. they're when you're max level, that can be kind of frustrating. I wonder if they'll add like items and things, not in the shop or anything, but just things you can buy or pick up, or material that you can use to speed up that process. That's like the only kind of downside I see. This complexity though means that people are going to customize their classes in all sorts of interesting ways. And you might get to a complexity level where there is no one best. People online, they're always going to say that, oh, this is the meta. This is, this is what's to go. But assuming there's no outliers, one, your skill about how well you know these and how well you use them in a PvP scenario is going to outclass any sort of guide online or anything like that, right? And that's something you only get with this level of depth. Now, you don't want to go too far and you have systems on systems on systems, because it makes balancing a nightmare, and it is really scary for new players to come in and be like, whoa. So starting off simple and then unlocking it over time is definitely the way to go. But yeah, those are just some of my preliminary thoughts on this weapon skill tree. And it's not each individual weapon. It seems like it's each type. So like great sword, axe, maybe like one-handed sword, bow, that kind of thing. And so that should hopefully help.
Talk a little bit about, obviously
enough
reiterating
yapping.
again, kind of, these proc effects. These essentially are the incentive loops for why weapon combo attacks, which are basic weapon attacks, are the fillers between rotational effects, because you are getting, as you unlock progression within these trees, you're getting substantial benefit from procs that occur by using the basic weapon combo.
Right. I should speak on that a little bit more in like a general concept. So we want to encourage weaving between abilities and weapon combo attacks, and we're going to do that in a few different ways that you'll be seeing in this stream. The first way is archetype weapon combo interactions. You've already seen some of that where the finishers give you a burst of momentum, and Overpower and Brutal Cleave get reduced or reset cooldowns on combo end as well. The second type of interaction is weapon combo to ability proc synergies, such as direct damage on the next ability hit after a combo finisher, or a status effect setup for ability use. And the third version is ability to weapon combo proc synergy. So this is deeper in the tree. Your abilities will have a chance to set up your next weapon finisher with additional effects.
Very cool. That is awesome. So let's see, which one should I go for here?
I'd go with the swiftness for the fighter.
Yeah, I've never heard of any or played a game like that where you usually you just spam abilities, but like having to
that's actually really strong, because it's a very short burst of attack speed, so the duration's really good there, and also the proc chance. I'd probably max out the proc chance one in the middle, and then get the duration. That's probably strongest for the swiftness.
All right. And now I've already gone and unlocked this path here of the extended finishers.
Yeah, you could probably take some points out of the extra damage nodes and then put them into...
I've never heard you say that before. This is blasphemous.
Well, it's only because you're getting even more damage through the procs, potentially.
Okay.
It's all more math and less math, right?
That's true. That is true.
And another thing here is it all depends on your build. All depends on your build, and you'll see that more in this next choice here, which is a lot more interesting. So that first one was like a kind of introduction to the proc system. It's kind of a more just additive extra thing. This is kind of not forcing the weaving, but encouraging the weaving a little bit harder. So first we got second strike. So your next ability use after a weapon combo finisher has an additional damage proc that occurs. And then a good choice for DPS is the one right below that, which is perfect timing. So the next ability you cast will have reduced cooldown. So it's kind of like, do you care about that reduced cooldown for your rotation, or do you not? And you just take the additional damage. And the third option there, unfortunately it's not working yet. This is expanding upon that status effect interaction stuff. That's what we're working on imminently, getting that built into the weapons. But whenever this is working, it'll apply burning to your target and have additional interactions for the mage.
That's cool.
Yeah,
That's
I like the burning one.
And now you guys are starting to see, obviously, a lot of these these progression trees getting implemented now. And this is not just obviously for the greatsword, but you have done this in parity with the other existing weapon classes for part of A2's entrance criteria, correct?
Yeah, that's one of the really cool things about our game is the amount of weapon choice that's going to be present. All the weapons will be hopefully viable for almost every archetype, because you can specialize it in a certain way that will benefit you and what your archetype role is. There obviously be certain things that are better for other things, like a two-hander is going to do a lot of damage, for instance, and you might want to shield if you're taking a lot of the damage, but still, if you want to break that mold a little bit, you'll have options available.
Just to expand on that a little bit too, it's like not even just archetype and weapon synergy, but also it's like you're building based on your expected or intended comp that you're always going to be or often going to be running. It's like, let's say your friend rolls a mage, and it's like, I want to build with my friends, so I know they are a fire mage, and that's where your burning blade example comes in. Like, there's going to be more stuff like that, so that you're just
okay. Real quick, all of these things, I'd like. They sound good. Weapon swaps, or not weapons, but including weapons. Your skill tree, like loadouts or presets, you got to be able to swap those. You got to not have to pay for them every time, especially with this level of customization. And then 2, it's with those presets, hopefully being able to swap them with a very simple UI, not necessarily like, oh, I got to trek it all the way to a node. And then no, if you have the weapon, you should be able, and you have the points, you have the weapon, you have the points and the presets, you should be able to just swap out of combat. I think that's probably the best way to do it. And I trust them. Hopefully it'll be like that.
That segues really good into the next proc that we have here. So this is your abilities setting up your next weapon combo. So we've got 3 options here. The first is Keen Edge. So whenever this procs, your next weapon combo will have a 100% chance to crit. The next option, which if you have a bard in your party, you might not want this one, but it causes your next ability finisher to restore some mana to yourself. And then the third one is, and we're not sure about where this is going to end up. It might get moved over to the tank tree or the mace tree, but it procs a bit of temp health on the next weapon finisher. It's a pretty sweet tank option.
Interesting. Yeah, we haven't seen temp health yet.
Yeah, I don't think that's a solid choice.
All attack speed crit.
Yup.
Yeah, I feel like I want to
DPS beast mode.
Okay, I expect this out now. Very cool. That's awesome.
Right, awesome.
This is a I think people, just the complexities that you guys are again talking about, like obviously we've been talking about weapon skill trees and archetype design, since we first were talking
people
about
are going
to
crunch the shit out of this.
And now we're seeing in fruition to, part of the systems that we are going to be debuting as part of Alpha 2, you guys are going to be able to get your hands on this and kind of give us that active feedback. How does this level of depth and complexity grant you, the player, more granular control and choice over how your role that you're playing fits into the greater comp of the party setting, the raid setting, or solo gameplay, and your itemization selections, right?
Yeah. Like exactly like Steven was saying, it's going to depend largely on the group and the role that you're playing. I personally am not a big number cruncher. I care more about the gameplay, and I'll fiddle with it if it's like a class or a spec that I really appreciate or enjoy. But because of this complexity, if it is something that you guys are interested in and you would like to see, I definitely can make some content for that. Just let me know.
Right? Like all of that is a level of depth, I think, that players want to exist in space-wise, because it gives them the freedom to really define the way they're approaching the difficulty challenge that is the game.
True.
And that is combat in general. That's super cool, and especially like this breadth of options, right? The even the horizontal choices here like that creates a very interesting playground of rock paper scissors effects between the multitude of archetype skill progression and weapon type skill progression that you're going to experience even in a PvP setting. And it also is just more levers that we get to pull on the encounter design section as well for PvE. Very cool. Well done, guys. This is I think I speak for the community when I say great progress, very great progress, and Alpha 2 is shaping up to be not just a great testing experience, but a lot of fun, I think. Obviously the world.
Yeah, I got the Alpha 2 pass ready to go. I'm so excited to hop in and start messing around with some of these cool things, both like individually, but as a community too, because there's certain things that you can only figure out, and certain things that get elevated by doing it in groups. And so I'd love to set up some community
and the combat design here
events and
the last
testing
thing I
and all
want to
sorts
highlight
of fun
is
stuff.
the work that we've done on the animation side with the weapon combos. So if you actually do your weapon combo in place here, we can see it. We can see whenever you get, so you got a stab hit there. Whenever you get stab hits on the third and the fourth hit, those are actually procs. So if you connect with the second hit of that proc hit, you'll receive the additional effects. But you actually have to connect with a monster or player to receive the effect. And I think the proc rate is at a static 25% right now. We're looking at other ways to scale that, like maybe it scales with stat,
I haven't seen
or
him
maybe
stab
it
at
scales
all.
with additional nodes.
Other than that first time.
Right now it's kind of low.
Yeah. Where's the stab? Where's it? This is me when I play. Just
Especially
no
if you're unlucky,
procs.
like Steve.
Yeah.
I know,
Yeah. Look
really,
at
what's
this.
going on here?
There's no procs.
Come on.
I'm sure we'll see it in combat.
Oh, there it is.
There
There
we
it
go.
is. Yeah.
Okay.
And these
Classic.
guys, we're still missing some effects that are going to help drive what this. Oh my god!
Smoked.
I'm so sorry. I just was like relentless attack.
Yeah, the momentum and the bonus attack speed on the greatsword stacking together
Oh, that
smoked
was
me.
good. That was good. Let's see. So
Oh, you're
sorry.
corrupted.
He's also level 15.
Did I go corrupt?
You did.
Oh,
boy.
no.
Well, it should be fine as long as we're in a party. Speaking of which, we should form the party.
Yes. Well, yeah, let's get this going. We can talk more while we're.
Yep.
just-
Are you guys disbanded?
Yeah, we are.
Yeah, another thing we can talk about when we're moving is we did revamp the animation a little
Oh, there's
bit.
the burning.
We made it work with the weight of the greatsword a little bit more, so you'll see like more precise pose holding, and it's less of a lumbering beast than it once was. We're kind of leaving that space for the mace and the axe, but it really feels like a sword now to me. It's awesome.
Can I also show off one other thing? The environment team and the engineering team, and Keenan, I think you were part of this as well, obviously, between the ability system and the interactable environments. Something that I have not seen happen really very often as part of MMO level design is destructible assets. We have that in and running. I want to see if I can destroy these two
yeah.
tents here real quick.
Let's take a look.
Oh, wait, somebody else
Wait.
destroyed them.
Yeah.
They just got hit by the cone of cold.
I think so. Oh, that was good. That was hilarious. I'll find some other tents. I'm sorry. Hold on. Let me find another one. Here we go.
Don't forget to put your helmet on.
Oh, should I put my helmet on? Do I want to put the helmet on?
It's a cool looking
Oh.
helmet.
All right, I'll put the helmet
I'm assuming
on.
destructible
That's a cool
assets
way to
come
solve
back.
props getting in the way.
That's true. Let me put
Always
my-
wear a helmet.
No, I meant you can
Like
just kill
after a
him.
set time.
Oh, that's pretty
If he had been wearing his helmet when you were
Here we go.
attacking him,
Oh. Love it.
Oh, we need to talk to the scout first, don't we?
yeah, we should grab the quest.
Oh, is there a scout
Okay,
over
it
here?
looks like
That's
we're finally
right.
getting
Alright,
into
let's
the
clear
Okay, so you guys remember
area showcase.
at the end of our commission's live stream last month, this was Oakenbane Keep. I just kind of came up to the entrance here. I didn't want to go inside because this story arc. See if I have actually information on the story arc. Here we go. So we are part of the Ancient Violence story arc, which is an inhuman threat in the Riverlands. And so it talks about a little bit the settlers of Vera have known of a constant struggle with the goblins that overran the ancestral Kalar lands.
Mm-hmm.
And while we know nothing about their capabilities, it is important that we now find them throwing themselves at Lionhold's paltry defenses, Lionhold being one of the introductory locations right near the portal area in the Riverlands. And Captain Avon Moore needs help assessing the scope of that threat. Interesting. And we also have here what appears to be a side quest. Scout Yoren. Let's talk with Yoren. What does he have here?
Why does his head look green?
Once a great place of our ancestors, now is overrun. We shall do something about this. Alright, he's been charged with observing. I would be happy to take some of your dispensation as pay.
Mm-hmm.
So he wants us to kill 20 of the goblins here in Oakenbane. We've already dispatched a few of them.
Yeah, so it seems like the side quest is pretty standard, cookie cutter. It's localized to the area. You don't have to go too far.
What we got going on over here? Some glint. Oh, that
Wait,
guy.
that guy's just spinning. Look at him go.
He's just kind of flipping around over there.
Steven's
Ooh,
like,
this is
don't
feeling
look,
moody.
don't look.
It's feeling moody. Alright, not too bad.
Looks very foggy.
So now, of your
Like
guys'
super
experiences in MMOs, how many of you actually mained as a fighter?
Me. I think I'm the only one here. I know everyone's here has played fighter, but I love playing fighters. Like, they're kind of my first choice.
You know, I'm gonna... Oh, hold on. I see that there is a
Watch out, big
spirit
pull.
nearby. Oh my god.
I already popped my blizzard too.
On the note of the fog, when you get these like super large PvP like sieges and the castle and all that kind of stuff, if there was like really dense fog, or even in like instanced PvP, I don't know if there is, but having those like environment effects, it would be crazy to see, because you can't see shit looking around, and then just like the big trebuchet fireball comes through the fog, that kind of stuff. I think the Unreal 5 really, it allows you to take that next step and make the game shine
this is
figuratively.
named mob. It's a named mob. We'll have to be sure to loot him after we kill him.
Yeah, Steven needs to loot him, not anyone else.
Why are you guys saying that?
Yeah, it's almost like something happened.
Yeah, we don't have any like ninja looters in this group for sure.
Now, some of you guys are seeing that the effects of that big explosion. That is still effects that are being authored right now, but that is specifically a progression. Oh, that guy was pretty strong. That is specifically a status progression, is that right?
Which one?
Oh, I got something.
Wait. Okay, yeah, there you go.
Did I get something? I got some, looked like, let me see if I can find that.
It looked like legs. Toy soldier legs.
Toy soldier legs.
Quest piece.
Legs of an ancient toy soldier that survived well past when it ought to have, thanks to ancient magics within. Can be reassembled with other pieces. Okay, cool. So sorry, I was talking about the conflagrate.
Yeah, so one thing you'll be noticing a lot on the mage is I'm throwing out different elements of projectiles. Like here's a fireball, and then after that you'll see my weapon combo is throwing out little fire projectiles. As we showed in the previous
so the
mage
wand,
live stream, that is
the weapon
elemental
combo,
environment, how it works. However, we've changed a
it doesn't make sense to just like smack them with a wand if you're like a ranged, but you still get to use the weapon system by getting these like auxiliary like little tiny fire procs or things like that. That makes sense, like
A
thematically.
little bit how that works. Now, on the finisher attack of every combo, you get the element based on what your infused element is, and then you can use certain abilities to promote that from burning to like conflagrate in the case that you're seeing.
Oh my
here.
god.
I don't know if Steven
There's a
was
lot.
even listening because he was just trying to clear all the mobs.
So you'll see me doing
Ran
that
out of
here and
mana.
there.
I need to give myself some mana.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
when we
that's a
get more into
concept that
the
we're
like the
applying
mage,
to all the classes.
yeah.
On the tank, we recently moved. They used to generate courage and apply stagger on every hit. We moved that all to the combo end as well, which is really nice because that allows us to normalize these effects across multiple different weapon types and really make true our promise of weapon choice.
Yeah, it's like we don't want to, put too much emphasis on attack speed for proc rate, and there's other ways to do that. You can normalize chance and all that stuff, but we also just thought, like, from a gameplay perspective, it is really cool to like make you have to commit to that final hit. It just kind of makes it feel a little bit more like you're working towards something rather than just getting something on every attack.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see how it plays out.
Was
It's definitely
that
interesting.
The additional flexibility was good with the tank play style, but having that additional thing to chase mid rotation is turning out pretty well.
We
found
got an
somebody.
NPC here.
I found this dude. Looks like some. Oh, this is
Is he
we
dead?
saw this guy before. He was in our last time we showed Oakenbane Keep. An armored
Oh, yeah,
shade
armored
floats
shade.
before you.
That
incapable of
looks really
speech.
cool.
It, however, does extend a translucent arm to hand you a corporeal letter.
It needs more
I've received a letter.
glow.
Okay, let's take a look at what this letter does. The paper in this letter is inked on what feels so old that it could disintegrate. Against time and your gentle handling, it holds together. That sounds like I should open this letter. Though the letter is
sounds
ancient,
like
the
I
text
should
in it is
put
clearly
this down.
legible. Papa. Oh, no, wait, no. Papa. Mama says we won't be able to visit anymore. After we've through the portal. Oh, shit, I messed that up.
You gotta get the role
I
play.
should-
Ah, you fucked it up,
C
Steven.
minus.
I know, I'm sorry. Okay, wait. Papa, Mama says we won't be able to visit anymore after we leave through the portal. Didn't feel right to leave you alone, so I'm leaving you my bravest toy soldier. Oh, that was the toy soldier piece we found. To help you and the others here fight off the demons coming for us. I hate to tell you, kid, I don't think that toy soldier's gonna help. I'm getting too old
Don't
for
tell him
toys.
that.
I know. His name is Troy. Oh, I love always Troy.
We have respawns here.
The word Og is written in blood across the back of the paper 4 distinct times. Sounds interesting. Oh,
Like a puzzle?
it's going to give me some experience.
Aggravations.
Deliver the toy.
Okay, what is that pun? Really? Okay. Somebody's being a little cheeky.
To the Forgotten Soldiers Memorial Site. Okay, so we need to find a memorial site. Aw, that's sad. What history? What history lives here? Love the banners.
Yeah, you see how like that blizzard effect is so
man.
like overpowering? It's not a bad thing. It's just we're really gonna have to figure out
I
like
also love the ambiance here of the
how
like,
those
goblins.
big PvPs are gonna work. I like the chemical fire look. Very cool. Yeah, but I'm already losing like some clarity on the mobs.
We're mopping these goblins up.
Oh yeah. Yeah, we've been doing a lot of playtest cycles in this area, getting it good. So we're pretty experienced.
Yeah, we have had many deaths in this area, but yeah, what kills you gets you stronger, right?
Yep.
I think that's how it goes.
Oh. Not the wolves. Not
That
the
wasn't close.
doggy.
No.
I like the shaman. The
Guys, I want to
goblin
talk
shaman
about
look.
another thing that we always are keeping in mind towards Alpha 2. Whoops. Keeping in mind towards Alpha 2 is performance testing. That's something that PI has been helping us test, and there's another PI test happening, I think, next week, which is both the visual performance that you're seeing within the game world from a rendering perspective, as well as from a networking perspective on the servers as well. So keep that in mind. There's going to be a lot of benefits there because it is something that is happening now. And teams have put in a lot of work.
I think
towards
I
that.
have access to that, but I haven't looked. I'm sure if they have enough testers,
Might
they have
wanna
enough testers.
Get a little mana back there.
We'll,
I know,
we'll
I
hop
have
in
No mana. I'm so sorry.
Alpha 2.
Just cheating grabbing mana. We need a bard in this party.
Well, you do have blood fusion.
Those
if
guys
you
are just
so
vibing
choose.
up top.
Oh,
Look at
that's
them go.
right. I forgot about blood fusion. I should choose that.
Yeah, next AOE pack you could use that with.
So that
Whirlwind
gives
and see how that works.
50% back of damage done as mana.
Yep. So round all these guys up and pop it and start AOEing.
Oh yeah, good call. Forgot about that.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
By
I'm
the way,
trying
this
to figure
area
out.
looks great during the ancient.
Yeah, I was like, I think
Islands.
it's an area showcase, but we're just. This is more like the mob farming
All right.
showcase.
Looks like we got
There's
something
a lot
up
of
here on our
goblins.
right.
Wolves up front. Let's get them. Let's do this.
It's hard to see because of the fog
got?
as
Incoming.
well.
Looks like we
What
got
is that
Alpha
sound?
Wolf up top. Try to pull him down.
I see this alpha wolf up there. I'm going for him.
Oh, yeah, that ability, the verticality on that is still insane. And then you're gonna whiff it, and you're just gonna like, it doesn't quite line up, and you run to the wall, and you're gonna feel so
Who's
bad.
alpha? Who's this guy talking about alpha?
No, they just wanted to be part of the Alpha 2. They didn't pre-purchase. It's not their fault.
Getting that mana back. Oh, what do we got here? Player?
Yep. He's dead though.
Oh, do I need to loot that
Nice.
alpha?
Yeah. Let's loot him.
Where is he at?
Right here.
He has an alpha severed head.
Alpha.
All right. Like crafting material.
They have like a little den here. How sad.
Are you
go
not,
behind
are you not gonna go into it? Maybe it's
Sneak
not
in.
done.
Yeah, come around from the kind of like the wall side.
Infiltration.
We need camouflage.
I hope they're like overworld secrets, like little
Go
chests
along the wall.
and
Let's try it.
I think
things
there's
that
mobs up
encourage
there
you
too,
to
but we
explore.
can give it a shot.
Even if it's just like simple Genshin style,
No, it looks like there's a
glowing
break in the
chest
wall.
type deal.
Further down.
As long as it
Yeah,
matches
there's
the
a player
thematic
up
of the
there, too, be
world
careful.
That's a good
and it
plan, though.
encourages exploration, it'll be good. But yeah, okay. How much time? Holy moly! We're like in the last third. Okay, cool.
Okay, here we go. Oh, cool. There we go.
We're gonna fight this guy again, or
Alright,
is this a
sleeping.
different one?
Okay, I'm gonna
Alright.
jump on them.
Here, I'm gonna skip ahead a little bit.
Where their homes.
Okay. Uh-huh.
That's expect
Yeah.
actually.
Back here.
We're lit. Man,
Howling. I found a toy soldier
Shut
arm.
ar- Okay. So we're really getting to see the abilities in action, which I think is, it's the point, is
Yeah, we got Budge over here.
because you're going to be seeing these abilities for hours and hours and hours and hours. So they have to be easy on the eyes and feel good both in the first 5 minutes and the 50 hours in.
Let's rest up.
All right, let's make sure there's no ads over here to our right.
Jump,
I'm
jump.
glad
The
that
wall
they're
kinda
testing
sticks
the
out
game.
back there. I think we need to
Oh,
go
yeah.
that
Mhm.
far.
Right, wolf right here.
Another mob pack.
Wolves.
Uh-huh.
Oh, there's a
Maybe over here.
Leave this one that's close to
Uh-huh.
here. You should.
Core section and
Oh,
Hey guys, we will see you back on stream.
we are back. I'm going to
okay. So yeah, that was good. We're gonna watch this little bit of the fighter preview because I'm assuming we've got some community like questions and stuff from it based on the chat because I can't see the chat right now.
play the video in
From the video.
background whilst we talk. We're gonna grab some questions from chat throughout the.
Yep.
We've been watching.
I'm curious what people think.
And Roshan are wonderful
Overall,
community
it
managers
seems
have
really
been-
good.
We have like a party that's happening on Discord, and we've got a Twitch chat. So we've definitely been keeping an eye out for your guys' questions and trying to snag all of the details. So first and foremost, I think Stephen, you wanted to kind of address performance, and I know that's something
Yeah.
that we are working on drastically. Even with our PI users, we've been getting all the PC specs and stuff like
Yes.
that, and working towards that.
Yeah, and the initial performance work that's being done right now is mainly on the network side, but what you guys are noticing on the FPS and the client side rendering, that is stuff that we are going to be working on over the next few months, and you should see some very significant lift in those areas. Sometimes it can get a little bit unruly while we're in active development. Certain assets can get certain places that might need to be adjusted. We might be getting draw calls from across the map. You might have some cloth simulation that's just a little heavy on some hair. Like there's a few things obviously that are kind of low hanging fruit. That our performance teams will focus on. You'll see that get better, obviously, as we get closer to Alpha 2. So it is on the top of our minds. We do definitely address that. We recently released also some of our min spec and recommended specs for Alpha 2. You can take a look at that on the website.
Yeah, you go to
So,
our
yeah.
support section and look at our KB articles, or our knowledge base articles. Sorry, I call it KBA, but our knowledge base articles, and just type in specs, and it should be there for you. So we have all that information already there. And keep in mind that is just for Alpha 2. We will be changing that as we move forward in Beta 1 and Beta 2, and then launch.
Yeah, I'm not worried. I noticed you got some frame drops in the showcase or whatnot, but it can be Steven's PC specific, or whichever one is doing the showcase, because it has to record and stream, all sorts of stuff like that. But the thing that gives me like hope and a positivity towards that in terms of performance was their showcase of like the big multiplayer PvP stuff. Even though we didn't have as many like abilities being thrown out and stuff, there were still a few on each person, and it was way more stable than some of the other games I played. And that was with the dedicated. Now they've added a bunch of stuff, like Steven was saying. They're gonna have to do another pass at it, and it seems like a dedicated team for that. And as long as it's playable at Alpha 2, then I'm totally fine with them working on that all the way to the beta. It's pretty much, it's like whenever all the way up to the open beta, whatever that is, or the name of it, or timeline, whenever the majority gets a chance to like try it and they start making content for it and those kind of things, which will happen a little bit with Alpha 2, that's when you really want that stability. But yeah, looks good so
Obviously gonna
far.
keep optimizing.
Mhm.
To give perspective, most games are not worrying about performance and optimization this
Right.
early on.
Yeah.
Usually you're just developing like
Yeah,
crazy,
it's towards the
and then
end.
you do the performance stuff later, towards when you're ready to open for beta, or the alphas these days, which are basically like beta ones.
Right, yeah.
So just kind of keeping that in mind, because we're in open development, it's a little bit different for us, in development process. The next question we have here, the rest of them are more fighter based. The next question here is, will the battle cry sound effect change based on your race and
Yes.
sex?
Yeah, and that's not just obviously for battle cry, but any type of incantation is generally going to adhere to a certain style of vocal that's respective of the character customization options that you've selected.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And you'll hear those audio voices in other things that we do in the future. Are any of these abilities changed based on weapon choice? So, example, if I have a bow equipped, will whirlwind be different based on that?
No, so in one thing that we've changed, which since Alpha 1, is we now have a dedicated ranged slot and a dedicated main hand offhand for melee slots. And so if you use an ability that is utilizing your ranged slot, you will spawn that weapon as you're using the ability, and then go back to your basic weapon selection. Um,
Okay. So that I'm assuming that means pretty much every class is going to have at least the ability to wield like a bow, like melee, like the fighter can wield a bow, and then rangers can have a sword. It ideally is, it's not going to be optimized with your abilities and your loadouts and stuff. Um, whether or not that's relevant is, it's kind of small.
toggle, and you can toggle back and forth between using the ranged weapon slot or the melee weapon slot for your basic weapon attacks.
All right. And then the
Yeah,
next
I'm
one
assuming you have
here
to
is what
manually swap.
percentage of currently complete fighter abilities don't require a target? Something that folks noticed is that you were in action comment a few times throughout this as well. So I don't know
Yeah,
how you want to
yeah,
express that.
absolutely. I tried to play a little bit of action there. I saw some of the commentary about my playing. I just want to say that
I told him in advance there was going to be comments.
that's totally fine. Like, hey, I want you as the viewer to look and say, man, I could play way better than you, right? And then get in here and show.
Steven sucks. He's the lead game designer and he created this and he can't play one of these many classes. That yeah, I think that's totally fine. It's funny.
It now for 2. No, I'm just kidding.
There was a couple times where I'm like, Steven, you were wandering around over here and the boss was there.
Somebody on Discord today said that I'm a boomer. And I said, technically, I'm a millennial, but I play like a boomer. So I guess I'm a millennial.
And they were like, just stop. I saw that in the Discord.
That's so good. Okay. What was the actual question? Oh, what percentage are templated attacks versus requiring a target?
Yeah.
That's a good question. I would say off the top of my head, I think there's probably 4 or 5 abilities right now that require a single target, and then I think the rest are either like on self or some, template conal attack or something.
Yeah, fighter's very AoE heavy. Will there be a limit to the stacks on bosses? So there was a lot of debuffs and what do we call it, status effects and things like that that were being stacked onto things. And they were curious if there's limits to certain stacks. And also, can you, for instance, an example would be, can I one-shot a boss by stacking wounded for an hour?
No. Yeah, that's absolutely. There's diminishing returns. There are max stack counts. Those are types of things that kind of depend on the target we're talking about.
I think
Bosses are obviously
like yeah, bosses and debuff limits and things like that. Like that matters more for like raids or dungeons or like very large scale content. And then it just gets trickled down. But that seems relatively easy to fix if there was a problem.
going to have the higher end of resistances and
Immunity.
diminishing returns and immunities. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
So the intent is not to provide an infinite stack count. Absolutely.
And to follow up on that, just because I know there might be some subsidiary questions of that, which is, would those stacks be per or per person or per archetype or per the type of status effect?
Those would be predicated on the status effect type. So not respective.
So if you put burning on it, it would be everybody in the raid has to adhere to that limit.
That's correct. Yep.
For context, okay. And then
and just to be clear, like that is absolutely something that we're going to be testing. We've on the design team, we've had a number of discussions with regards to how to surface kind of individual stack application versus like, group and raid combat requirements there.
I don't, regardless of what they end up with, one, we're gonna test the shit out of it. Two, I don't think it really affects like how the game like feels to the average person. I unless you're looking at like damage charts and numbers and like ratings specifically, you're never like, oh yeah, this debuff, I procced it and then this other person procced it. And unless it keeps you from doing something within your kit, you almost never notice it. It's just like, oh, okay, we both procced it.
There's a few different options that are available, obviously, to us. We've decided on a certain direction for the purposes of Alpha 2, but I believe we've actually prototyped a few of the different options just to get a feeling for how that is currently in our combat testing. So yeah, just stay tuned for that. Obviously, Alpha 2 is going to have testing with that.
And you guys will be either experiencing it or watching it in Alpha 2, and so definitely share with us your thoughts. We'll be making changes and balancing things as we move forward. How will augments work to help a fighter hold aggro if their secondary archetype is a tank? And I know that that's like going deeper into second.
Yeah, I'm gonna skip forward on these because the answer is like we're not there yet. We're not there yet. We'll see.
There's of augments that you can apply to your ability, effect. Incorporated into Exert up while under the effects of Exert to extend its lifetime beyond what the 6 seconds initially are.
We appreciate the raid. We always do from everybody. We just are also trying to be conscious of folks' time, so we don't always mention them. The next one is, will ranged archetypes have ways of gaining distance to compensate for fighter distance closers? Would you keep doing this until both players have cooldowns for their mobility? And I just want to say, we haven't balanced everything yet.
Yeah, I mean, we already saw the Rangers. They have like the backflip, right? And the leap. It just comes down to like cooldowns. If your fighter has 1 leap ability and the ranger has 3, well then you've already got that like ranged feel in terms of that disparity. If they both have 1, but the fighter one is on a 20-second cooldown and the ranger one is on 5, there you go. So I think that's pretty easy fixed with numbers. Let's see.
So too do the corresponding prop sets that are utilized within the area to better reflect that dynamic change of the world. And from a level design perspective, when you're curating these spaces for players to engage in combat, either in PvE or in PvP, there is an element of strategy that gets introduced when that environment has destructibility as well. So you can clear those spaces, make mobility a bit better serviceable for you. Or
look at that cat. I agree. For sure. I'm gonna just plug it again. Terrain abilities on certain classes or certain skills can really add another dimension to PvP content or PvE content. Setting up choke points and all that kind of stuff. Not like really long permanent, but just in combat. It can be a form of soft CC, or a form of gap closer or opener or things like that. And it's something that can be done in Unreal. It might be a little bit tricky with, maybe it's more trouble than it's worth with like the networking and whatnot. Because it's like, oh, I saw this ice wall that I made, but this person just walked through it because internet is, kind of shitty, different, that kind of thing. That's like, I guess, the biggest concern if I had to guess. But it is interesting. And yeah, destructible environments are really cool. It's 2024, current year. Adding that stuff in is always a plus.
Or vice versa, you could utilize, line of sight and interruption to kind of create interesting engagements. So those can be destroyed, and then they do respawn after a period of time. I believe currently that period of time is set to like 10 minutes for the respawns of those. Yeah.
And I think the community just got a bingo. They had the cat on the bingo card. I didn't make it happen. She came over here. Can we, yeah, for those of you who are new to our community, if you head on over to our Discord, our community always does like they make up a little bingo card. It's cute. Can we toggle nameplates for mobs, especially show them outside of combat? So one of the things they noticed when you were playing is that when you were roaming in the world, you didn't really see nameplates until you had them targeted.
Yeah, that was a setting that I had enabled. Just because. Oh, so first of all, to answer that question,
the immersion, you guys.
Right, I know. I'm sorry. I'm not. I do like the immersion. It helps
Are you
fulfill
guys
the
nameplate
fantasy of the
showers
world.
or
But
hiders?
I also like to see nameplates from time to time.
I
Anyways,
like nameplates.
It is entirely customizable currently. That customization,
Unless you're taking like a
option is already
screenshot
in
or
game.
something.
You can set nameplates to always appear. You can set it to only appear on targets. You can set it to only appear on targets that have taken damage. You can set it to only appear on targets that are aggroing you or your party members. You can set it for your allies, for yourself, for, whatever. There's a lot of highly customizable options that are currently in the game.
All right, and we're gonna have color options too for certain things for colorblind folks too. I think it was one of the things. But too, you'll be able to like move and adjust your. This question is: are mob sounds like the goblin stock placeholder? Or so good job, audio team. I know you guys work hard.
Yes, specifically that was Andrew, one of our audio designers. He recorded those goblin sounds and
yeah, they sound really
implemented them
good
into the game. Yeah, those are not stock nightly routine before he goes to bed. Exactly. No, he did a great job. Obviously, certain spelling can't.
Yeah. And then, of course, does the fighter have any specific weapon-dependent abilities? So, something that we are allowing people to do in Ashes of Creation is you can use any weapons and armor, but obviously there will be some that will be better for certain specs. So I don't know if you want to talk more about that.
Weapon dependent.
Like you have to use a specific weapon for a specific ability.
I don't think the fighter I could be wrong on that, but I don't believe the fighter has a weapon dependent ability.
Other than like using ranged weapons with melee specific abilities, right?
Right.
Yeah, I'm assuming you would just want it where if everybody has a range slot and a melee slot, if there's nothing equipped, then you get the standard, I can't cast this because I don't have the weapon equipped, like the weapon ability. Or the melee defaults to like your fists or something. But and then the ranged, if you try to use a ranged ability, like shooting arrows or something, right? Like the animation is going to be the same for whatever ranged equipment you have, assuming that it's a ranged equipment. We haven't gotten too much into like different types of ranged equipment. That's also something that doesn't get looked at as much as like melee, because it's like, oh, I got the mace and the sword and the axe and the shield. But then the hunter or the ranger or whatever it's going to be, it's just like, oh yeah, maybe a bow or guns. And that's about it. So it'll be interesting to see more classes, because then we can see how like the different classes interact and all that fun stuff. But if they put even like half of the effort that they put into the fighter one, I think it's going to be a really good time. There's going to be a lot of really deep systems, a lot of interesting mechanics, things to try out. And yeah, overall, I would say that this is probably the best like showcase for a class that they've done so far, which is probably very intentional. And I'm very much excited to see what they got going. So I think I'm going to pause and stop the video there. But yeah, I'm curious to see what you guys think. It's certainly shaping up to be like quite a game.